Yesterday we said something about the mind, the nature of the mind. As the Buddha has given his comment on the nature of the mind is Dulmikasa. Mind is difficult to tame, not easy to tame, very difficult. And lahu no, very fast, changeable, rises and passes away very quickly. And another characteristic is it lands wherever it pleases. Yatakama nibadino. It would go to every nook and corner without control, in an uninhibited manner. Freely it will move around. You cannot just control it. If one cannot cultivate and tame one's mind in a suitable way, then this mind will not become cultured or cultivated or tamed automatically by itself. It'll become wilder and wilder and wilder, more and more violent, and become despicable. So, just like when you are not careful about your health, you are not taking care of your health, yourself about health, then when there is some infectious diseases arising all around you, then you are not afraid of being infected. You just live freely without control or any preventive measures, then you'll become very quickly infected with these infectious diseases. Then you're bound to suffer. Unless you have methods to abstain, to evade, to abstain from such instances, or methods of prevention and control, methods of treatment, and methods of uprooting the diseases up to the point of, say, killing the germs, for example, the bacterial, the disease-forming bacteria, then you are bound to be oppressed and tortured by such diseases. So do with our mind. If our mind is not controlled by suitable means, then we are bound to be infected with this mental disease or diseases which will torture us and oppress us. Then we are bound to suffer. Then it will not be worth being born as a human being. As our Buddha has given this method, Satipatthana, in order to cultivate your mind so that you are free from these negative elements, undermining elements. And however much, if you are cultivated in this way, however much things may be agreeable or disagreeable, then there will be no excessive likes or dislikes, greed or hatred. You'll be free from these negativities, because your mind is tamed, danda. The Buddha has tamed by himself, and then preached the Dhamma to tame all beings, danda. So the yogis are now practicing to tame their mind, to cultivate their mind, and they are walking this path of cultivation. How satisfying it is. There are two kinds of dangerous pains or distresses, namely the bodily pain or physical pain and mental pain. These are the two things. The physical pain happens on the body, whereas the mental pain, manasika vyadi, happens in the mind. That is mental pain or mental distress, which are both oppressive whenever they come in contact with oppressive things or elements. So as for the majority of the people, they take more care on the physical pain, but not so much care as regards the mental pain. In fact, the mental aspect is more important. Then if you are able to, if the people in the world are able to take more care on the mental aspect rather than on the physical aspect, then the world will not suffer. People in the world will not suffer. Instead, they will be happy and peaceful, free of mental disease. And also they will be able to withstand the ups and downs of life, vicissitudes of life, good and bad conditions of loka dharma. And they will be able to enhance or develop their mental powers and cultivate knowledge. Then they will be able to overcome the mental aspect of disease, mental disease. And when they face these good and bad conditions in life, they will be able to withstand. They will be able to repel these good and bad conditions and be able to maintain a balanced quality when it comes to difficult situations. Then remain calm and collected, sober and calm. This which quality is required by everybody, and Satipatthana gives guarantee in this direction. Before the advent of this medical science or advance of medical science, people are subject to the attack of diseases, infectious, dangerous diseases like plague, smallpox, TB, cholera, dysentery, cancer, AIDS, and so on. And at that time, in those days, people succumb to such diseases. They have no remedies because these diseases are very oppressive. They killer diseases. And people suffer a lot. And now also they are suffering to some extent. Now the medical science have advanced. Such diseases like plague, smallpox, cholera, malaria have almost disappeared. However, there are still some diseases which cannot be cured. There is no remedy or very little remedy for such diseases like cancer and AIDS, and people are still suffering. And we don't know what kind of diseases will come in the future after they are gone. So people are afraid of such diseases, in fact, especially infectious diseases or incurable diseases. They detest them. But it is not enough to be just afraid of them. We cannot just surrender ourselves to these diseases. Meanwhile, the scientists and medical technicians have invented means in a fantastic manner. With the advent of this medical science, they invented chemicals, remedies to cure such diseases. It is fantastic. And so that for those who have been afraid of these diseases, can rely on such people and medical science for their help. Now, to relieve people the medical scientists have come up with their inventions. They've invented methods in order to abstain first, to avoid places where there is a chance of diseases contracting diseases, and removing by prevention, methods of prevention, methods of treatment, eradication of these diseases, so that people cherish such methods. People who are conscious of their health cherish such methods, so that they won't go to places where they are liable to be contracted with such diseases. And if they have to go there unavoidably, they take injectables, or they have shots of these preventive vaccines and so forth. And even if they contract disease, then they cure these diseases. They treat them as quickly as possible in an emergency, with emergency care and treatment. They're very careful. So, understanding how this medical science are taking such precautions, invented such methods, people cherish such methods, they take more care. But as for the majority, they don't take as much care in the case of mental diseases, how to abstain, avoid from being contracted with mental diseases, and how to prevent the preventive measures so that they don't contract mental diseases or mental disease. And instead of avoiding, they sometimes just bump into it, purposely go into it, instead of preventing. There's no preventive measures, there's no treatment measures, not to mention uprooting these oppressive elements which cause mental diseases. People are negligent, pramada, they are not diligent, they are not heedful in this aspect, and they are not aware of how to be afraid. They don't know how to be afraid, they don't know how to detest them. So if you think about it, such people have this kind of weakness as regards prevention, treatment, and uprooting of these mental diseases. Therefore, for the purpose of preventing and treating these physical diseases, bodily diseases, these medical science have advanced, and the medical profession has come up, and they are quite reliable. They become something to depend upon by the people. However, as regards these mental aspect, mental ailments, people forget that forget about an eminent physician, mental physician, which had arisen in the old days previously. People didn't take notice of that. Instead, they while their time, they spend their time indulging in sensual pleasures and immoral diseases, immoral deeds, ducharitas, and thinking that such small sensual pleasures, thinking however small they may be, they think that this is a real one, and that's all we can enjoy in our life, and such is think that the enjoyment of sensual pleasures is one's own life. That's all we have to do. That's our life. In this way, they spend their life. It is very saddening. As for these physical diseases, those people who are very conscious of their health, depend upon this medical science. We've invented methods to abstain, that means to avoid such diseases, or methods to preventive measures, or curative measures, and to methods for eradication. Understanding this, they cherish this, they appreciate such medical science, such inventions, because they are quite successful. So that some diseases have almost been wiped out from the surface of the earth, except of course 2 major diseases like cancer and AIDS still remaining, and there's no sure curative effective methods so far. And Sayadaw says he thinks it is a result of the past karma. That's what he thinks. This cancer, diseases like cancer, which are terminal diseases, are the result of past karma. It is the result of this, it's a kind of resultant vipaka, known as karma vipaka. That means the resultant, karma resultant, because of the last previous unwholesome deeds. And this connection, during the Buddha's time, there was once a monk, a bhikkhu, known as Buddhigata Thera, and his whole body rotted, so that it became incurable. And one time, the Buddha himself, there was nobody to go near him, because his whole body was rotten and smelling, very smelly, letting out foul smell, so that nobody went near him. He was alone, helpless, so the Buddha had to go himself and give the treatment. So after treating him, the Buddha preached the Dhamma in accordance with his temperament, so that, being mindful and fully aware, he attained to the final stage, the arahantship. And being asked, requested by the monks about his incurable disease and his attainment of arahantship, the Buddha preached the Dhamma, gave his past account, that he was once a bird hunter, and as a bird hunter he used to hunt birds. Some he saw, some he cooked, eat, and others he broke the legs of these birds so that they couldn't fly, because he caught them, and to prevent them from flying away, he broke the legs, and from this pain, the birds began to rot and emitted foul smell, although he saw some of them. So when at the time of the Buddha he became a monk, entered Sasana and became a monk, and because of his past karma of such doing, his whole body rotted with boils, starting with boils, later growing into carbuncles and letting out pus and blood, so the whole body rotted. And in this way Buddha gave him his past, and there are of course other accounts of him, how he became arahant and so on. So nowadays also such incurable terminal diseases like cancer may be due to such past deeds. There's karma vipakaja, the disease, because of their past deed. For the past good deed, he was reborn as a human being, but his later resultant was not suitable, was not appropriate, so that his whole body rotted with boils and carbuncles. And he later attained arahantship, because he suffered this because it was his last existence. So in the last existence, people had to take all the effects. So be careful if you are in the last disease, last existence. So it's a past karma. Because of his past karma, good karma, he was able to attain arahantship. He had done things to overcome kilesas, knowing that kilesas are the root cause of suffering, and he practiced good deeds, so that during the Buddha's time he came into existence as a human. He was reborn as a human being and met the Buddha in person, and he was able to listen to the talk and the Buddha's teachings, acquiring the method of overcoming kilesas, so that in his near death moment, he practiced this mindfulness and full awareness, being mindful and fully aware of every arising. Based on his past perfections, he was able to reach the extinction of all kilesas to the point of no return. So, from one aspect, he had done good deeds, that's why he had good results, and from another aspect, he had done bad deeds, so he suffered for these bad deeds, so that his kusala and akusala are mixed, at a mixture of good and bad things. Though for his own living, he earned his living as a bird hunter, that is rooted in greed. Now when he started killing and breaking the legs and all that, that is rooted in dosa, anger, ill will. He had bad intentions, bad volitional actions. So due to this bad chetana, though these mind and mind states subject to impermanence arise and pass away, but they leave behind this potentiality which followed him like a shadow, as a black mark. And it had given him results in many lifetimes. And this is his last resultant in his last existence, when he was to become an arahantship and attain nibbana. So dosa is very fearful, frightful, dangerous. It is known as kilesa mara, killer, defilement killer, causing death. When they arise, for those who are not free from kilesas, they can give unskillful, unwholesome results. It can kill the person and also kill one's glory or one's status, one's honor. Hence the name Mara. And with kilesa becomes kilesa Mara. So the kilesa Mara are like frightful diseases. They are oppressive. They are frightful because they kill the person as well as his or her glory or honor. At times we hear news around the world, such as because one cannot control oneself with dosa, anger or ill will, the heart stopped, or they are afraid due to excessive fear, they died of heartbreak or the heart disease. Hence this is a dosa kilesa mara. it can kill. And to give example, sometimes very frightful, timid animals, you catch them like rabbits or hare, things like that. If you catch them, though you don't do anything, just keep them or keep it in a cage or something, because of its fear or depression or fright, and slowly it died. So this is a kind of sunken or negative kind of dosa, not a positive kind. This anger, this fear is a kind of dosa in a negative sense. Now there is dosa with a positive sense. When we are very angry, very upset, with so much fury, that is a positive way. One's blood circulation changes, and with the heartbreak, they may die, or some brain hemorrhage. Now this is a real Mara, real killer. And this is the mental aspect which causes this kind of suffering. People don't see such things. People only see the physical diseases, not the root cause of physical diseases. Now, in his opinion, he thinks that these AIDS, which are incurable terminal diseases, have the root cause in sexual misconduct, having conduct. In the text is given this one as a sex enjoying bodily contact, because intoxicants as well as the sexual misconduct are concerned with enjoyment of physical feeling or physical contact. And as much as the sexual misconduct has to do with the lust of the flesh, so too with the intoxicants, it is the lust of the taste, enjoying, wishing to enjoy one's taste, you want to have a good taste, enjoyment of taste in the wrong way, because taking intoxicants and taking it in the wrong way, not in the right way. Like taking drugs, you have a good feeling when you take drugs. That is a physical enjoyment, and that is on the same level like this sexual misconduct. When you take injections, these drugs, you have a good feeling. There's good physical feeling, unnecessary good feeling. So it comes under this misconduct of sex, and AIDS is due to this misconduct. So not being able to control oneself, one gets out of control and indulge in craving or lust, raga, in a sense it is lobha, not being able to control oneself, so that those who consume it are killed, both by person and also by honor and glory. So when it comes to disease, if one cannot cure the resultant aspect, one has got to look for the causative agent. What is the cause of that? For instance, in the case of the AIDS, the root cause lies in this sexual things, which is in a sense is lobha, greed, not being able to control oneself. With such means as abstention, prevention, and treatment when it happens, and subduing, and then finally uprooting. Just as a medical profession has given us all the benefits, all the good things of their findings and inventions, so that we can use their methods to be free from physical diseases and remain healthy, and they become reliable personnel. reliable people with respect to the physical diseases. So too, with the mental aspect, the Buddha is an eminent physician, mental physician, to overcome methods. He has given the methods to overcome this Mara killers, mental killers, and to abstain, methods to abstain, methods of prevention, treatment, and finally uprooting. He has given the full the means of preventing these mental diseases. Just as physicians are given the remedies to cure respective diseases, so too with the Buddha. Since the kilesas can kill, from the mental aspect, can kill not only the person as well as not only the person, but also one's honor and glory, and cause death of person and glory. So, in order to overcome that, the Buddha has given the methods to eradicate three great categories of mental diseases, namely transgressive form of defilements, vitakama kilesa, obsessive type, pariyotthana kilesas, and latent tendencies, anusaya kilesas, and has given these remedies, three kinds of remedies, three kinds of respective remedies, such as sila seka, the morality training, samadhi seka, the concentration training, and panya seka, wisdom training, in order to use these remedies in their respective for their respective diseases. All of these mental diseases, categories of mental diseases, the gross form of mental disease, that is vitakama, transgressive forms, things like killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, taking intoxicants, all these things are very gross forms. And when one indulges in them, one's physical, verbal behaviors will be impure, wild, and despicable. Such things are to be abandoned, not to be developed. When we say abandon or overcome, means first abstain from these unwholesome diseases, unwholesome things, wrong things. I undertake to abstain from committing this, that, Veramani Sikkhapada. In this way, you take vows, undertake vows. You cannot do it just by mind. You cannot abstain it mentally. You got to abstain it physically and verbally. For instance, killing is a physical act, and lying, speaking falsely, is the verbal act. And taking intoxicants is a physical act, so you've got to abstain by way of physical conduct. And as much as you abstain, you'll be improved. There will be sudden change. So if you abstain from such things, you will take vows and abstain from it, there will be sudden change. Previously, your physical, verbal behaviors were impure. Now, because you have undertaken the vows, as much as you abstain, at that moment, in a very unique manner, your physical and verbal behaviors will be transformed to a state of purity. And in this way, your physical and verbal behaviors will become cultivated, tamed, and softened, graceful, and affable. This is a sudden change, sudden transformation, because you change it, you improve it. You take the vows you conduct in the right way. So this is the unique overcoming, the overcoming in a special way of the kilesa mara, kilesa killer. By oneself, so that one is not defiled. At the same time, one safeguards others by not harming others, so that others can live in peace. That is the benefit. There's a sudden change. How wonderful. So in this way, sustaining this morality, to abstain from this gross misconduct, is in this way you can purify your physical and verbal behaviors. Killing, harming others have the root cause in dosa, anger, ill will, and stealing is rooted in taking what is not given, is rooted in lobha. And sometimes you just not only want it, but you want to destroy others' properties. That is also mixed with dosa. Dosa also involved. And kama, sexual misconduct is rooted in lobha. And false speech can be lobha and dosa. And for intoxicants, it is rooted in moha, delusion. Instead of seeing that, instead of seeing the false in it, one may see that it is necessary, essential for good feeling, for high feeling, for high. This is seeing the reverse way. Not knowing that, understanding that it is unnecessary, it is not, but one thinks that it is necessary. That is rooted in moha. Such are the gross forms of great hatred and delusion. They are transgressive defilements, and once you take a vow not to transgress, not to commit these things, then you are said to be transformed, and these transgressive kilesas will have a chance to arise in you, so that you have done self-cultivation, you are not defiled, at the same time you are safeguarding others. So Buddha has given this method to abstain from this gross form of kilesa. As such, it is good enough. Unless one can practice the control of one's mind, one can control one's mind with the practice of satipatthana, then one will be obsessed with unwholesome, immoral things, although not physically or verbally. And for things which can arise in one's mind cannot be just subdued by body and speech. As we have said, that Buddha has said, has given the nature of the mind as difficult to control, difficult to tame. And the mind is very fast, it rises and passes away, very changeable. It is, and then it lands wherever it pleases, without regard to one's status, honor, or glory. So such things which cannot be controlled by body and speech had to be controlled by other means. They have to be controlled. For instance, in the mind, mentally, there can be this wishing to kill others, or take others' property, covetousness, or commit sexual misconduct, and wishing to tell lies. All these things happen in the mind. They are obsessed in the mind. So one has got to take the vows that such things shall not happen. I will abstain from such things, taking vows of practice. And there are also things that craving for desirable, agreeable objects, wishing to see good, visible objects, hear agreeable sound and things like that. And there can also be this anger arising in one's mind, and such mind states like pride, conceit, mana, envy, avarice. All these things happen in one's mind. And this you cannot abstain physically and verbally unless you practice this satipatthana to guard your mind with vigilant mindfulness of every arising, noting energetically and precisely, noting every arising object, immediately arising object, so that one can concentrate one's mind momentarily, namely Kanika Samadhi. And in this way one can prevent these obsessive types of defilements from arising in one's mind. And even if they enter at all in your mind, you must note and abandon or overcome. So this dual method, prevention and treatment. Treatment by way of noting and overcoming. So in this way, you overcome these obsessive types of defilements, pariyuttana kilesas. First weaken them and then uproot them, if possible, so that they cannot overwhelm you, they cannot control you, they will not gain the upper hand. So these two methods, preventing, treatment, and then subduing and eradicating. So the yogis are now doing the same thing. They are practicing mindfulness in order to overcome this kilesa mara which can arise in their minds. When one is oppressed by something, an opponent or something, you are suffering, so that you will find ways and means to be liberated from such oppression, from such suffering. The first thing is to run away from it. Of course, that amounts to cowardliness if you run away. And to be a hero, you must hit back. That is heroism. Because your mind is weak, mental energy is weak, you are overwhelmed by these mental defilements. Because you are weak, you are the loser. So you got to nurture these mental powers such as Viriya, Sati, Samadhi, so that they become energized. When your mind is weak, these pariyuttana kilesas, obsessive defilements, hold the priority, they gain the priority, and they gain the upper hand. Now you have developed your powers, mental powers, Viriya, Sati, Samadhi. Now you are becoming stronger, more powerful, so that you get the upper hand, you can overcome these kilesas. And the best way is to practice the satipatthana to guard your mind with vigilant mindfulness. With the practice of satipatthana, noting every arising object and nurturing the sati, samadhi and panya, so that these powers will grow and you will be able to repel the mental enemies, so that you gain the upper hand. You can overwhelm your opponents. So in this way, you can improve yourself, cultivate yourself. Not to just give in, not to withdraw, not to run away, but to hit back with strength. Strength means the strength of Viriya, Sati, Samadhi. Noting every second of the practice, not missing any object. That is, you are preventing, method of prevention. And then if at all these mental obsessive elements come into your mind, then you got to give this treatment, means of treatment, or cure them. That means note and abandon, or note and overcome. These are the two methods you have to use. So this is how you subdue or overcome these kilesas, and the Buddha has given this method of practice to overcome these obsessive types of defilements. Just as as regards these physical diseases, you just abstain from going to that place where this disease is prevalent, and then use these methods of prevention and cure for those, especially for those who are health conscious. Then only you'll be able to remain healthy and strong with proper good metabolism, and you sleep well, eat well, and all that sort of thing. So too with the mental aspect. You have to use these preventive methods and curative methods and uprooting methods with the practice of Satipatthana. Of course, basically with the Satipatthana you can overcome Pariyotthana kilesas, obsessive types of defilements, so that your physical, verbal behaviors become pure. You are said to have purified these behaviors, and mental behavior to some extent. But it is only subduing, not real purifying satisfactorily as yet. Although, such as just like when one has contracted disease, one is sick, one is treated, but the disease is not uprooted as yet. So too with the mind. In the practice of Satipatthana, you have control your mind, but not to the extent of total purification. Total purification can be realized only with the cultivation of Vipassana Panya, Ariya Panya. That is insight wisdom and wisdom of the noble wisdom. Then your mental diseases will be totally uprooted, totally subdued. That will be your last stage, which we shall deal tomorrow or day after tomorrow.